Hello, welcome to my channel. Before proceeding to study, please subscribe to my channel. Today, we will explore the fascinating world of English for communication. We'll dive into key concepts like 7 C's of communication, barriers to communication and ways to overcome them. Slide 1. 7 C's of communication. Today, we are going to explore the 7 C's of communication. Think of these as guiding principles that can significantly improve how effectively you convey your messages and how well they are understood by others. The 7 C's of communication are a set of rules that aim to make your communication clear, effective, and impactful. The significance of understanding and applying these principles is that they help you avoid misunderstandings, save time, build stronger relationships, and ultimately achieve your communication goals. For a simple example, if you are clear about what you want to say, the person listening is much more likely to understand you correctly the first time. The 7 C's we will be discussing are clarity, conciseness, completeness, correctness, coherence, courtesy, and consideration. Each of these plays a vital role in ensuring that your message is not just heard, but truly understood and well received. Our main goal in understanding these principles is to equip you with the tools to make all your communication, whether spoken or written, as effective as possible. Slide 2. The first 4 C's. Let's start by examining the first 4 of the 7 C's: clarity, conciseness, completeness, and correctness. First is clarity. When your communication has clarity, it means your message is easy to understand. You use simple and straightforward language, and you provide specific details rather than vague generalities. The significance of clarity is that it directly avoids confusion and ensures that the receiver interprets your message accurately, just as you intended. For example, instead of saying something like, "The situation needs urgent attention," which is quite vague, being clear would involve saying, "We need to address the budget shortfall by Friday," and perhaps explaining why it needs urgent attention and what actions are required. Next is conciseness. This principle emphasizes being brief and to the point. It means getting your message across without using unnecessary words or rambling. The significance of conciseness is that it saves both your time and the receiver's time, and it helps keep the audience focused on the essential information. For example, instead of a longer phrase like, "Due to the fact that the weather is experiencing a state of being bad," you would simply say, "Because of the bad weather." The third C is completeness. A complete message contains all the necessary information that the receiver needs to understand the message fully and be able to take any required action. The significance of completeness is that it prevents misunderstandings and avoids the need for the receiver to ask follow-up questions to get the missing details. For example, if you are inviting someone to an event, a complete message would include the date, time, and exact location, as well as any other relevant information like what to bring or the dress code. Finally, we have correctness. This means ensuring that the information you are communicating is accurate and free from errors. This includes grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, factual inaccuracies, and incorrect figures. The significance of correctness is that it builds your credibility as a communicator and prevents the spread of misinformation, which can have negative consequences depending on the situation. For example, in a written report, it's crucial to double-check all spellings, dates, and data to ensure they are correct. Slide 3. The last 3 C's. Now, let's look at the remaining 3 C's of effective communication: coherence, courtesy, and consideration. Coherence means that your message should be logical, well organized, and flow smoothly from one point to the next. There should be a clear connection between your ideas, making it easy for the receiver to follow your line of thought. The significance of coherence is that it makes your message much easier to understand and helps the receiver see the relationships between different pieces of information. For example, when giving a presentation, structuring it with a clear introduction, a logical progression of points in the body, and a concise conclusion ensures coherence. Courtesy in communication means being polite, respectful, and considerate of the receiver's feelings, opinions, and perspective. Using courteous language and a respectful tone helps foster positive relationships and goodwill. The significance of courtesy is that it makes your communication more pleasant and increases the likelihood of a positive response. For example, using phrases like, please, and thank you, being mindful of your tone of voice or the words you choose in writing, and avoiding offensive language are all aspects of courtesy. Lastly, consideration involves understanding your audience, the receiver of your message. This means taking into account their background, knowledge level, mindset, and needs when you are crafting your message. The significance of consideration is that it allows you to tailor your communication to be relevant and impactful for that specific audience. What might be clear to one person could be confusing to another if you don't consider their prior knowledge. For example, if you are explaining technical terms to colleagues who are not in a technical field, you would need to provide clear and simple explanations. Slide 4. Barriers to communication. Even when we try to follow the 7 C's, there can be barriers to communication, obstacles that hinder the effective exchange of information between a sender and a receiver. The significance of understanding these barriers is the first crucial step towards overcoming them and improving our communication effectiveness. If we can identify what's getting in the way of clear communication, we can then take steps to minimize or eliminate those obstacles. For a simple example, if there's a lot of loud noise around, it can act as a physical barrier, preventing a listener from hearing the message clearly. Here are several common types of communication barriers. 1. Physical barriers. These are environmental distractions that interfere with the communication process. Examples include loud noise, physical distance between communicators, poor technology, like a bad phone line, or visual distractions. 2. Psychological barriers. These are mental states and attitudes that can impede communication. Examples include stress, anxiety, preconceived notions or prejudices, a lack of attention or interest, or a closed-minded attitude. 3. Emotional barriers. Our feelings at the time of communication can significantly affect how we send and receive messages. Emotions like anger, fear, distrust, or sadness can cloud our judgment and make effective communication difficult. 4. Cultural barriers. Differences in language, customs, values, social norms, and beliefs between communicators from different cultural backgrounds can lead to misunderstandings. What is considered polite in one culture might be seen as rude in another. 5. Language barriers. This involves difficulties in understanding the language being used. This can include using jargon or overly complex vocabulary that the receiver doesn't understand, or even communicating in completely different languages without a common understanding. 6. Perceptual barriers. These arise from the fact that different individuals interpret the same message in different ways based on their own experiences, beliefs, and perspectives. What one person sees as a joke, another might find offensive. 7. Organizational barriers. Within a structured environment like a workplace or college, issues within the organizational structure can hinder communication. This could include poor communication channels, a rigid hierarchy that discourages feedback, or a lack of transparency. 8. Physiological barriers. These are physical discomforts or limitations that affect a person's ability to communicate effectively. Examples include hearing loss, speech impediments, or even physical pain that distracts from the communication. 9. Technological barriers. With the increasing reliance on technology, problems with the communication tools themselves can become barriers. This could include poor internet connection, software glitches, or unfamiliarity with the technology being used. Slide 5. Ways to overcome communication barriers. Now that we understand the various obstacles that can hinder communication, let's explore ways to overcome communication barriers. Implementing these strategies and techniques can significantly improve the clarity and effectiveness of our interactions. The significance of actively working to overcome communication barriers is that it leads to clearer understanding, stronger relationships, and ultimately, more successful communication outcomes. For example, if you know that physical noise is a barrier, choosing a quiet environment for an important conversation is a proactive step. Here are several strategies to improve communication. 1. Active listening. This involves paying your full attention to the speaker, truly understanding their message, responding thoughtfully, and remembering the information. It's more than just hearing words, it's about engaging with the speaker and their message. 2. Using simple language. When communicating with a diverse audience, it's best to avoid jargon, technical terms, and overly complex vocabulary that might not be understood by everyone. Clarity is key. 3. Providing feedback. Offering both verbal, like asking clarifying questions, and non-verbal cues, like nodding to show understanding, helps ensure that the message is being received correctly and encourages open communication. 4. Empathy. Trying to understand the other person's perspective, feelings, and needs can help you tailor your message in a way that is more likely to be well received and understood. Putting yourself in their shoes can bridge many communication gaps. 5. Clarity and conciseness. As we discussed in the 7 C's, being clear about your message and avoiding unnecessary details makes your communication more focused and easier to follow. 6. Choosing the right channel. Selecting the most appropriate medium for your message and your audience is crucial. A sensitive issue might be better discussed face-to-face than via email, for example. 7. Respecting cultural differences. Being aware of and sensitive to different cultural norms, values, and communication styles can help avoid misunderstandings and promote more effective cross-cultural communication. 8. Improving communication skills. Continuously working on your speaking, writing, listening, and non-verbal communication skills through practice and learning can make you a more effective communicator overall. 9. Creating a supportive environment. Fostering trust, openness, and a willingness to listen encourages more effective communication. When people feel safe and respected, they are more likely to communicate openly and honestly.